Hi, welcome to my channel. Hey, welcome back, guys. We're going to go ahead and wrap up this series of marker rendering on tracing paper demos with the form demo. So this is basically going to give you a rendering of a form that's very close to what your final project is going to be. In this case, it's the tow vehicle and the trailer that it's going to be towing. All right. So what I did is I went ahead and pulled together a series of form drawings, and just to kind of speed things up a bit. And now you recognize these first three drawings from the previous demo, and these are rendered in the blue, black, and red. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and translate some of that over to these sketches over here. Okay, I'm not sure if I can get even into the wheels today, but what I definitely will try to do is render out this form and its compound curves, and then translate that over to this one that actually now introduces the wheel arches. Okay, so these two are going to be very, very close to what you guys are going to be doing. All right, so let's go ahead and start sketching. What I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in. All right, so give me a chance to kind of get closer to our work. All right, and then some of it's going to not be visible, but I think this is going to help us kind of zoom in and see how we apply this demo. All right. So let's bring up the blue markers, because I think that that's a really good color to stick with, maintain a little bit of consistency. So first thing I'm going to do is take the drawing, and what we do, guys, flip it over. All right. Again, the two blue markers, make sure you have the main color, right, and you have the tint of it, so you have enough to create gradient. All right. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the drawing. Okay. What you want to do always, study the contour lines. Okay, see where you're going. What exactly is it describing? All right, and then what you want to do is try to render in what you know, what you recognize right away, and then the areas that are a little more difficult, slow down a little bit. Right, slam on the brakes. Really study what it is. What does it remind you of? Is it remind you of a cylinder, a cone, what have you? Okay, so let's go ahead and start rendering. All right, now I know this much. Right, I remember that part of the rendering. So that's basically the horizon line, right? And it's going to have a little bit of transition up into this intake area right here, okay? And I feel pretty confident that that value is going to continue on into this area because of this angle. You see the surface break here where it breaks off? So what that tells me is that's a defined break, and this area is going to definitely be in quote-unquote the shadow area, okay? Now, when I go ahead and take this value all the way around, I feel pretty confident of making that nice and solid. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back over to the sides, and I realize that this is very similar to what we had in some of our earlier videos, where it's kind of the shape of a cylinder in a way. So you're going to get a little bit of a core shadow in here, or core, and then you're going to get the surface resuming that of a horizon line down into this area here. Okay, you see how there's like a stripe for the core, and then a patch of value representing a horizon reflection. All right. Now, remember what we did also. We respected this contour line. So let's go ahead and take our edge of our marker and marker that in. And then because this is sort of a number 1 rolling into a 3, let's add a little value there to kind of give it a little bit of coverage. And I think we're good to go. Oh, I think I'm going to put a little value down in here too. Just a little bit, because it is transitioning. All right. All right. Good. Let's cork this marker, and let's uncork the lighter value of the tint. All right. So you remember what we did last time, right? We went in here and we did the sky tone, right? We did the sky tone because that's much lighter. And because this is a continuous surface that's transitioning, it's still kind of angled up to the sky. So I feel pretty confident just coloring that whole thing, but just maybe sweeping my marker along that curve. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip this whole area here, because that's actually facing the light, and I don't think there's any real reason to render that. What I will do is probably pick up a little bit of that core shadow and bring it into this area here. And then remember we talked about the ground tone, right? Ground tone is you blend it into the marker like a slurry, right? And then you bring it a little bit down the bottom, maybe expose a little bit of there because this is blue, but it's still getting some sky tone, so we're going to get a little bit of value there. And then remember how we talked about this being a gradient going back, right? And as it's going back, it's catching light. And as it dips down, it's going to get blue again. And there you have it. All right, so you're going to get a highlight, halftone, highlight, halftone, rolling down into a shadow. All right? All right, looks good to me. So now that our underpainting is done, let's go ahead and do what next? Flip it over, all right? And then we're going to go back in with our main color. Okay, always remember the main color. You have to come back in and do that. So let's come back in. Okay, now what I'm going to do too is this. I'm going to let that dry a little bit, okay? Momentarily, when I let it dry, I'm going to go and color this in, a little bit of gradient, okay? A little shadow value there, okay? And I'm going to zoom a little bit. So I think it's important for us to see as close as we can. I'm hoping that my autofocus doesn't kind of wig out here. I think this is about as close as I can get. But what you want to do is, and I'm not sure if you guys remember me mentioning this, but when you get into these possible shadow areas, you want to take your color marker and you want to strengthen that by just going in a pass or two extra. That extra pass or two is really going to make a difference. So when you're looking down into the surface, you can actually see the transition, that bending, that jutting out, that soft roundness that's rolling down, okay? And then I know this is going to be definitely a curved surface, but it's going to be obscured a little bit. So I feel confident in making that a little bit darker. And I also feel confident about bringing a little bit of shadow in here, even coloring that in, right? Now that can be maybe black, maybe a trim color. But as far as I'm concerned, you know, that's going to be good for me to kind of remind me that, hey, you know, that's going to be a recess. It's going to be black. Come back in and color it, all right? All right. For now, this all looks pretty good. Right. Now remember our little trick, guys, the little trick where we brought in that earth tone, that honeycomb color. Right? Don't forget those little techniques because these really come in handy. Remember we talked about bringing it in? Now I know I'm putting in from the top side. I don't think it really matters at this point. We're only going to do one pass. Okay. Again, mirror reflection. Back into that. Okay. And that's all you have to do. Right. Always remember that. That's always going to be a nice little touch that finishes off a rendering. All right. Now, last part, we're still on the top side. So let's go ahead and rotate our canvas. Let's take our Sharpie. And I'm going to zoom out just a little bit because I think that it's going to be easier for me to rotate my drawing and for you to kind of keep an eye on what I'm doing. So I'm going to come back over with the Sharpie fine point, a little thicker. Okay. I normally like to put my thick line weights at the bottom, and then I'll cork it and bring in the ultra fine points for some of the outside edges, which are a little bit lighter. Okay. Again, respecting the edge and respecting that edge as well. Okay. And if you go over a little bit like what I did, don't worry about it. I don't think it's going to hurt. Oh, remember that little black slot we talked about? That can be like a little detail. Now let's flip the drawing over and zoom in so we can see what we just finished. Okay. And I did say finish because that's what you want to be able to recognize when you're doing this type of sketch. Tracing paper sketch doesn't take much effort. What it does require is that you pay attention to the values and where you place them. Okay. All right, let's move on to the second drawing, which is much closer to the project that we have at hand, which is our vehicle. Okay. Now I've got some extra lines in here. I'll try to explain as I can, but again, I don't want this video to last for a long time, but I want you to see the transition that we've made from this one to this video. I mean, to this drawing, all right? So we're going to be consistent. We're going to use the same palette of colors so you don't get confused. So I'm going to go ahead and still use the cerulean blue and the pastel blue, okay? So here we go. Look at the contour lines, okay? Just like we did here. This is going to give you an early read of what's going on. So what we're going to do now is going to flip it over and do the exact same thing. Again, don't rush into this. Draw what you know and then come back in and troubleshoot the areas which are giving you trouble. All right. Now I'm going to draw what I know, which is this horizon line reflection. Okay. Now if you're getting to an area where it's a little bit tough to control, broad nib, flip your marker over and use the fine point. Okay. Okay, so we've got a horizon line. And then we also have some other opportunities here. We have this face, which is kind of, oops, I made a little mistake in there. I'm sorry. This is going a little too fast. That should have been a highlight I should have kept. But we can kind of solve that. Well, actually, no, I did this correctly. Because this is not round. This is flat. When I look at this background, I see right away that it's flat. So I didn't make a mistake. Okay. Okay. Now, like I mentioned before, you want to sketch what you know. And to me, this is as far as I know to be true. This is a crowned surface, slightly crowned surface. It's sweeping in. That's why there's a jog here. You see this, how this line of the reflection is jogged down lower than this one is, because I read right away that there's a sweeping curve which is going inward into the body. Okay. Now, some other details that I noticed is that I now have these little protrusions coming out. These are like little cylinders, so you have to treat them as such. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to treat them as little half rounds. So they're going to get a little bit of core reflection there. And you see how it matches up with the side of the body reflection? Okay. And then I think we're ready to move on to the next step. So I have my main colors down. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my lighter tinted blue, the pastel blue, and do the exact same things I did on this one. All right. So broaden it first. Okay. Follow the contour, right? Sky tone. Okay. Sky tone at the top of the fenders, because remember this is a cylinder, right? So you want to make sure that blue, that halftone gets up there, okay? And then remember the ground tone, right? Into the color, all right? Always remember, into the color. And down, all right? I'm going to put a little highlight here, just so that this turns a corner. And then remember we talked about this number 1, transitioning to a 3, it undulates. So we're going to grab a little color from the 3, bring that back. Okay, and you see how I already put in a little value here? I'll just take it from here and bring that back. Okay. All right. Now, when you're ready, it's time to kind of deal with the top side, but right now, go ahead and do a little cursory sort of a checkpoint. Make sure you have all the things that you need painted on the top surface. You notice how I left this white because that's actually a highlight. I'm not going to touch that. And I left this white because that's a highlight. I'm not going to touch that. I think I'm ready to flip it over. Okay. Now here we go. Same thing. Take the same main color of the marker. And take care of the main reflections. Okay. See how easy that is? Maybe inside the wheel wells. Okay. And the very last part is going to be this little intake like we did here on this drawing. Let me just scoot this down. You see, there's that little intake. This one's a little slicker than this one. This one's a little more pedestrian. So we'll do the same thing with black. Okay. So you can see the relationship from where we were to here. Okay. All right. Now before I go too far, what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it over and bring in some of the earth tone. So I'll bring this honeycomb color. And we're going to go ahead and bring that down over here into the ground tone. And I'm running into the tires, and then we're going to bring that honeycomb color right into the body panels, just like that. Okay, right in there. Okay, just like that. Now you're probably asking me, well, how come you didn't fill in here? And the reason why is because this particular surface, in my estimation, is it's pointing upward. It's not pointing downward, so it's probably not going to catch the oatmeal or the honeycomb color. What will catch the honeycomb color is this downward sloping surface because it's facing downward. Okay, so that's a little subtle detail that you want to pay attention as you're sketching. Okay, all right. So let's flip it over. And let's finish up the drawing. Okay. So remember, Sharpie. Again, I like using the Sharpie on ground details, things that are close to the ground or in shadow. And then I'll flip it over and use the ultra fine point. And refine the rest of the drawing. Okay, so there's a little detail here that maybe runs into the intake and creates a shadow effect. By all means, I'm going to go in there with a, a thinner black line. All right. Now let's say later it's like I'm done with it. I'm pretty happy. I want to go ahead and carve in more details. By all means, again, follow your contour lines. I'm going to assume that this is going to be some sort of a door. Okay. And I'm just drawing a little windshield header here. Okay. And you can start to see how a drawing like this can be built by just using these contour lines and working in conjunction with the forms that you see. All right. So let's zoom out so you can see the kind of comparison between the two drawings and how they relate to each other. Okay. And there you have it. So this is what you're going to be doing when you're creating your final renderings for your trailer and your tow vehicle. All right. So this concludes the demonstration for those techniques. And if I have other videos, I will definitely share with you. And thanks for watching.